What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, if you couldn't tell by them big-ass chompers, is, of course, the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back with another amazing episode, and, of course, real life is happening right now, so no editing, no slick tricks. You see me doing my thing here, getting my guest in here. You're looking at this face. You might also know me as the son of glam, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Let me give myself a look here to make sure my coif is in order. And, of course, you know how I make that happen. Booyah! Right there, folks. Get you some, use it. And like I always say, you probably won't look this damn good because that's damn near impossible. But you can probably look pretty, well, I don't even want to say pretty close. That's even making that's a pretty big leap too. You won't look this good, but I've got the great Roth genes. So, hey, what can I do? Don't hate, congratulate. That being said, another great episode of Pod Scum, man. I'm super pumped up, man, to have this guy on, man. I will get him in here un momento. Let me also remind you guys to like and follow Pod Scum on Facebook and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in. This, of course, you know, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. And today is going to be no different. So that being said, let me get that out of the way. Also want to throw out my sincerest gratitude for all my guests who come on here. My guest is here right now, so I'll dispense with the formalities. We'll get down to it and chop it up with him. Let's do it. Come on already. Rob.
Yes, sir.
You know what, man? You're exactly like the kind of, you know what I mean? You've got the look right there, man, that I would want if I were to start a band. That I would say, you know what, man? I need a guy in my band, man, that's going to scare the fucking living shit out of people, man. You're the guy. It's you. Now, don't run yourself off the road now. I do see that you're driving. Are you safely able to multitask?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And I want to say, first and foremost, man, prisoner to no one, fucking awesome, man.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you got to listen to it, man.
Yeah, and I'm super stoked, man, that you got the great Bobby Gustafson on there too.
Oh yeah. When I did 2 tracks prior to that, and I was in Propane back in the '90s, and
Sure.
this guy Nick St. Dennis played lead guitar when I joined from the Truth Hurts album. And I never got to do an album with him. We toured Europe together. And then when it came time to do Contents Under Pressure, he had left the band. But I always wanted to do a recording with the guy because, you know, he's a good friend of mine and he's a great guitarist. So I got him to play on a track. I don't know if you heard that other track, Guardian Angel.
He's amazing. Yeah, they're all amazing tracks. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And the thing that I lament the most is that throughout my time of doing podcasting, I've had Bobby on not once but twice and was not able to publish either episode. One of them I actually lost because my hard drive got fucked up, long story short. And the other one I had on and we talked about all kinds of topical stuff. And then when I went to release it, none of it was relevant no more because it was when he was doing the violence thing.
Oh, okay.
No, all we talked about was violence and all the new stuff with violence. Then suddenly he abruptly kind of left. So, yeah, I've got to run him down and have him back on again, though, because the chats were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've like, back in the late 80s, I would have never imagined, at that point, I was in a band and hoping just to get an opening gig with Overkill at L'Amour's, you know? And then, then joining M.O.D. and then kind of coming up, I became friends with him over the years, you know, but I never told him until after he did the solo that he was sort of an idol to me, even though he's only a couple of years older than me.
Yeah,
they were already doing it when I was dreaming of doing it, and so I told him after he had done the solo, I was like, he thanked me, and I go, dude, you kidding me? You were one of my idols, and I didn't want to say it because, you know, I didn't want you to look at me like a fanboy because we're friends. But when I was younger, I looked at your stage presence. I looked how you played the guitar low. I bit everything from him except for guitar solos. I don't play guitar solos like, to me, Tony Iommi is like Yngwie Malmsteen. You know what I mean? Like, I'd
Right.
be lucky to pull off a simple bluesy guitar solo. I just don't have that. I'm more of a rhythm guy and a bass guy, and when I want to rip in solo, it gets me so frustrated that I have to call on people. So if I'm going to, I'm calling on the best.
Right. And Bobby certainly is the best, man. Like when he was on, I couldn't gush enough. I mean, I love Overkill. Overkill have been so consistent, 19 or 20, 21 fucking albums, man. But those first four that he's on are fucking absolute masterpieces.
Yeah, and that's what I really liked them, because they were like the infancy of a band is when you're exploring.
Yeah.
And what happens after you're exploring, you find what works, and then you release 10 albums that sound, kind of all the same. In those early stages, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax,
Right.
Suicidal, it's experimental. You're trying to find your spot. But to me, that's the beauty of it, is the difference between the records and the growth. I love that part of a band's career. First four records.
Yeah.
That's
And now,
that's prime.
And now, if I can backtrack a little bit, because I usually kick these interviews off by kind of going back to where it started. Was there a specific album or an artist or a song that really got in your blood and really jump-started the whole musical thing for you? Who was it?
So, when I was young, growing up in the 70s, you grew up on your older brother's music.
Sure.
So I grew up on like Zeppelin and Sabbath. By the time I got into Zeppelin, they were done already.
Right.
We didn't have Black Sabbath was done, but we all listened to those records as if they just came out. I'm talking like early 80s, Maiden, stuff like that. We didn't have our own music until I heard Metallica Kill 'Em All. And I'm like, these guys, and even my older brothers didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, this is good. We have our own thing now.
This is ours. Yeah.
I adopted Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and Black Sabbath, and Maiden from my older brothers. Now I had something that was mine. And when I saw how they looked, it was Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning. I'm like, I was playing cover songs at that point, and then I saw that, because I knew I could never craft a Zeppelin song. Never. Maybe Sabbath, the power chords, but even that was a reach.
Right.
Metallica, Anthrax, SOD, M.O.D. before I was in it, Overkill, Slayer, they put it within our reach, and that's when I really got the bug. I was in a cover band in high school, and I said, I'm writing my own songs. So I started a band called Molester. Within the first year, we had opened up for Nuclear Assault, who we idolized them, because, Dan was in SOD. Nuclear Assault had a couple of records out already, and we were amazed that within a year of just writing some thrashing kind of songs, we were opening for people in our genre, people in the genre that we liked. So it put it into our reach, which was really incredible, And then Dan Nastasi from Dog Eat Dog and Kings Never Die, he was in a band called Bucky Pup, and they were like one of the first bands around here to get signed. And Hades, all these bands were way above what I was doing, but we were getting opening slots. And it just grew. And then I joined Kill Power after that. And then Mutilation after that. We made our first record when I was 21. And then we started opening for Suicidal. Mutilation opened for Suicidal. Creator. Lots of Machettes. It was like, oh, okay. Things so cool. And that's where Billy Milano found me. And that's where around 92,
I'm losing you a little bit.
And at that point, I would have never imagined that I would ever be in a band with that maniac. And later, we were in Europe. And 2 years after that, we were recording the M.O.D. album that I did, The Evolution,
Yeah, I find him fascinating, though, man. I mean, It's got to be absolutely amazing working with Billy, though. No, I mean,
So he's people are going to think I'm crazy, but he's a genius. And most
yeah, I
geniuses are
believe that too.
insane.
I get what you're saying. I believe that too. I understand that, dude. I do. I've watched interviews with him, and I think that people sometimes like look at him as being this big, affable, gregarious kind of, doesn't seem like he's taking anything too seriously, man. But yeah, I agree with what you said, though, man. I do believe, man, that he possesses real genius, man, and that every move is very calculated.
Here's the deal: like writing music with him taught me how to write songs, and I've watched him, and he has a whole symphony in his head. He already knows what it's going to sound like in his head. He builds the song mentally, and then he gets the right guys to execute it. Like he'll tell you once, to tell the drummer once, and if you don't get it, you're gone. You know what I mean? Like he needs someone to be like on it. And when I first got with him, it was Steve Evans, a producer, basically telling me, Billy's looking for a bass player for the band. And I go, what do I got to do? He goes, learn every M.O.D. song, which they had 3 albums at the time. And he goes, and every S.O.D. song. So that was about 100 songs almost, between the S.O.D. record.
Right.
So I got with Billy in a rehearsal room. Play this. I played it. Play this. Played it. He was just yelling at, starting out songs to me, and I was able to play them. He liked the way I looked. I was cool with him. We had a chemistry, like personally. And then the next thing you know, we were looking for a drummer. It was like I go, and it's kind of like the Kirk Hammett thing or the Dave Mustaine thing. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm in the band, And the guy is brilliant on his writing. I mean, you just basically, he's like a fucking bronco. You just kind of hold on,
yeah,
and see how long you can ride it, And he basically broke me into the business. Yeah, Mutilation had our first record. It was released worldwide on a small label, but we were really going nowhere. Once I joined Billy, I went from wishing to open for an M.O.D. to being an M.O.D., headlining a European tour, playing the Marquee in London as my first, European show where Hendrix and Cream and, Beatles and Stones, all those bands, Maiden, they all played there. I mean, Paul Di'Anno was in our dressing room on my first
That's
show
crazy.
of year. So I was like,
the late great. Yeah.
So Billy got me, and I'll never ever deny that. And then what happened? I was climbing this ladder. I was driven to get further and further, and I had to step on a few necks on the way. So I was in Molester. There was some drug problems going on with other members. I left, joined Kill Power. 2 months later, a bigger band, Mutilation, comes, join them. Then Billy comes, join him. But what happened with Billy is we went out with Propane, and they saw me doing sound checks. So I was playing bass with Billy, but they saw me at sound check playing every instrument. So they needed a rhythm guitar player after we had toured with Propane. They called me from Switzerland, and they're like, we need a rhythm guitar player. We're throwing our guy out. Can you be ready in a week? And I'm like, sure. And I had to tell Billy, like, I was out. And that didn't go very well. It was hard. It's like I felt bad, but I was so driven. And looking back, I don't have regrets on doing it, but I have regrets of how it happened.
Right. Sure.
10 years later, SOD goes on tour, and the road crew is the same guys that we used at M.O.D. And this guy, Gary Bradford, was like a security guy, roadie guy. He called me, and he's like, yo, you got to call Billy. It's been 10 years. The whole Japanese tour, all we did was talk about you and all the stupid shit you did on the road and how much fun you had. Like, my ultimate goal, like, on tour, it's like, yeah, go out and play a blistering show, but the other 23 hours of the day, I want everybody pissing their pants laughing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to. Yeah.
So, my whole life on the road I was the clown. I was the court jester, and the roadie said, you got to call him, man. All we did was reminisce about how awesome it was with you. And so I called him after 10 years of not speaking. We were cool. He asked me to play on a record without rejoining, just saying, if you want to come play on a record. So I knew the door was open. And then it was his mom's like 90th birthday party. He invited me to that. And then one of the other old members was gagging him about a 30-year reunion. And it just wasn't the right time or place to be asking. Like, Billy's mom was like in bad health and she was old. He invited us to his mom's party. It's not a place to be networking. So
right.
Billy's like, he comes up to me privately and he goes, listen, I'll do the 30-year reunion tour. Will you do it? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And he goes, I'm just not doing it with him. And because it was kind of it was tasteless a little bit, you know. It wasn't the place to do it, like I said, you know. So he's like, I'll do the 30-year reunion with you, but not with him. And I'm like, okay, you know. So I rejoined in 2019 after I quit. I quit in 1995 and then rejoined. And it was the best thing I ever did because after I quit M.O.D. and I quit Propane, I had been trying to get back to that status with these other bands. And the problem was I wasn't using the right guys. I was using friends. You don't hire friends.
Right.
You know, I figured these guys never got to that level. I'm going to bring them along for the ride. And what happens is when you have the ability to help someone, some people resent you for it. And they challenge you on everything. And it's like,
or they take advantage of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, you know what? I'm done arguing. Like, I asked the drummer for a 1, he gives me 7. It's like, you know, and especially when I write the songs, I'm down to compromise and I'm down to hear ideas. But you don't put like double bass on a mellow track. You know what I mean? Like, it was just arguing. So that's where I finally just said, I'm doing this ROB Moschetti record. And I know it sounds pompous and I know it sounds egotistical, but that's what a solo project is. It's like,
right. Sure. You got to indulge. Yeah. You got to indulge. Now, I want to ask your opinion, just because I do love M.O.D. So much. They haven't been super prolific in recent years with pumping out albums or whatever. You know, it's just not the work rate that Billy goes at, you know, these days or whatever. But do you think we'll ever get more music from M.O.D., or do you think that last record that he's done?
We just recorded like a 5-song EP. And as Billy was getting in, ready to go do the vocals, you know, under the radar, he got stabbed. He was walking his dogs in his apartment. Someone lunged at him, like he was probably breaking into a car or just a homeless person. Lunged at him and with a knife. Billy put his hands up. The knife went right through his freaking hand.
Jesus fucking Christ. What kind of world is that when people are fucking stabbing fucking Billy Milano, for fuck's sake?
Well, it's not the first time. I've seen someone on tour try to stab him. Someone tried to stab him in the stomach, but he's not one of those mushy fat guys. He's like a truck tire, you know. Yeah. It looks bushy, but it ain't. The guy's wrist is bent. But this guy, he put his hands up, went through his hands. It set him back as far as personally, like,
sure,
he couldn't go to work, got late, he got behind on bills and this and that. So we basically sidelined the EP. I'm not sure if he's going to get back to it to get the vocals done or not.
Okay.
That's when me and my wife is an artist as well, but in the hip hop world.
Awesome.
She started her own label, and she's like, I'll release all of her soul stuff, you know. So
that would be music to my son's ears. My son's a huge hip hop head, man. I mean, that's amazing, man, that your wife does hip hop, and it's so polar opposite of the kind of music that you make too. I find that dynamic very cool.
Yeah, and it's cool because she started the label, did me dirty records. I know Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC because I had worked on music with him and have played live with them.
Legend, yeah.
As a live band, he wants a live band to play like It's Tricky and Walk This Way. They would call me. So I knew him, and I know, and I'm friends with him. So I showed him one of my wife's tracks without telling him what it was. And he's like, I love this. I want to sing on this. And I was like, well, that's my wife's. He goes, ask her if we could use it, if I could use it. So she ended up working with him on a couple of tracks. She's got this great producer, Diggy Ilrock, who helps her out. So now with this MOD thing kind of on hiatus, she's like, you have all this material, if you ever want to release stuff, let's just do it on our label, And I was like, all right, cool. So I was like thinking band name, this, that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just doing it as, what little fan base I have, it'll be easy to find. I was just going to do Machete,
Yeah.
the way I spell it, but there's another artist on iTunes and Apple Music under that same last name. It's like,
and I think that's a good move because I think people invariably are going to hear machete and they're going to think the knife and they're going to spell it wrong if they're looking it up.
Yeah. And like I said, people can think what they want. Like, who's this guy think he is? Like, he's not Kerry King, he's Rob Machete. And I'm like, but I just want people to be able to find it, So
yeah.
I wasn't going to come up with some name. I tried that before, and then the band that I basically brought in to play songs like that, it became a tug of war over it. And I'm like, all right, now I'm just doing everything myself: drums, guitar, bass, vocals. If I want some guests, they know they're guests. No one's like trying to change it.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
Right now, I just left the studio, finishing up the 4th track. I have 2 more ready to go. That's 6. Then I'm going to probably take a break just to kind of figure out where these last, 4 songs are going to go.
Right.
I don't want a straight up thrash record. I don't want a hardcore record. So
in the past, though, but in the past, you've lent backing vocals to the projects you've been in, but now you're doing the vocals.
Yeah, and on Mutilation, I was the front man of that, but that was like 100 years ago, and I didn't have my voice yet. Billy put me on that De-Evolution record, and that opened a lot of people's eyes because no one had ever sang on an M.O.D. record other than Billy.
Right.
And I was getting comparisons to Lemmy and Max Cavalera, and I was like, whoa, And then like 30 years later, I put out Prisoner to No One, and people are like, oh my God, it's like a new Motorhead.
Yeah, which thank God, because I tell people all the time, man, that I'm such a huge Motorhead fan, and I know that obviously, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. They always say that or whatever, but I'm always looking for somebody, current, that can kind of come close to replicating that sound. There are not many bands out there, man, that are able to seamlessly blend. Motorhead really captured lightning in a bottle because it was really like metal. It was really like the forefathers of thrash, but it was kind of like loose and sloppy, and it did have those punk elements and hardcore elements of it too.
And rock, it stems from rock.
Yeah.
Metal today, there's no blues or there's no rock. There's no Sabbath. Sabbath came from the blues. Zeppelin came from the blues. Motorhead was a rock band just amped up.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to sound like Slayer, but it comes out sounding like Motorhead.
No, I love what it's coming out sounding like. It's honestly a fucking beautiful thing. It really is.
And the thing is this, your influences you're not in control of. So I had toured Europe opening for Motorhead and got to like hang out with my idols and legends. Even like Mickey D, the drummer for Motorhead at the time, just him being in King Diamond. The guy was a freaking monster drummer in King Diamond, And in between, like before the shows would start, we were playing these little soccer stadiums, and me and the guys from Motorhead, other than Lemmy, would be playing soccer in the field, just killing time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm kicking a ball around with Motorhead.
I know, that's crazy.
And then like, hanging with Lemmy, just not a lot, but just seeing how he operated, and maybe it just somehow got into my brain, but not intentionally.
And now you are probably known more as I know you're talking about you're on stage and you're able to be competent on numerous instruments, but you would probably say standardly that you identify most as a bass player.
I don't know, because my most successful record was rhythm guitar. The Propane Contents Under Pressure album was like a top 50 Billboard album in Europe. And then in America, the 2 records I did with them were like in the top 10 on all the college radio stations. So successfully wise, I would say guitar, but it's hard to say. Like bass is so second nature to me, like it's almost like I still kind of need work, not work, but I could still develop more on the guitar.
Right.
Bass, I feel completely, well-rounded and it's not like I struggle with the guitar. It's just I never really got the solos thing down. I wish I could play like Randy Rhoads, but I never really applied myself to.
Well. So if we took the bass first and foremost, who would you say is there one player out there that you feel like has had the most influence on the style that you play or that the sound that you seek on the bass? We'll take the bass first.
I would say Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
I wish I was more like Cliff Burton and Rob Trujillo with the fingers and all that stuff, but I'm more comfortable with a pick, and I'm not gonna jeopardize the recording or the performance to look, traditional. So, yeah, I mean, Geezer Butler, even though he played with his fingers, sometimes there was a pick involved, but it was more his left hand because he was a guitar player. You know what I mean? He was a guitar player who just said, I'll play bass. Like no one ever wanted to be the bass player. And that's sort of how I became it. Molester, I was a guitar player, but I played bass on the demos. When Kill Power lost their bass player, the guitar player, Joe Delahente, God rest his soul, he came up to me, goes, we're looking for a bass player. It was literally 2 days after I broke the band Molester up. I go, I'll do it. He's like, you play bass? I go, I played on every demo. I might as well just do it with you guys. And then Mutilation was looking for a bassist because no one wants to do it. They want to be up front, want to be the singer. They want to be the lead guitarist. So I'm like,
Glamour.
Yeah, perfectly fine with that. So,
what about guitar playing? What about the same question with guitar playing? Is there somebody that you feel like influences your attack on the guitar?
Hetfield.
Yeah, he's the god. He's the god. I'm so excited, man. I'm taking my son to see them next year here in upstate New York on the big, on their big, and it's a great bill. It's them and Pantera and Suicidal. So it was worth I will say, Rob, it was worth the $111 ticket.
So now you say Suicidal, I would have to say Mike Clark in Suicidal, like the rhythm guitars on How Will I Laugh?
Yeah.
Or vicious. I mean, incredible. I mean, at that when that album was released, I was dreaming I could be at that level. And
one of the most amazing albums I think that has ever been created, man.
I think it's their best, even more than Lights Camera. Even though they had Trujillo on that.
Yeah.
I think for my money, How Will I Laugh is a masterpiece.
And another criminally underrated guy that doesn't always get a lot of love, Rocky George, too. Fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, I mean, that guy he's like Alan Holsworth lead guitarist. He's ridiculous. He's on from another planet. I would love to get him on a track, but I don't know him personally. I was speaking with Dean from Suicidal, trying to get him on a track, but he's just so busy, and I don't want to put him on the spot. I asked him, and they're going out with Metallica, and they pump out another record. And I'm like, listen, I got 2 more guys lined up, for the future tracks. I won't say it until that's released,
Understandable. Yep.
But yeah, Rocky was incredible. But as far as rhythm, and I'm going to judge just as players, not as people. Scott Ian is a vicious rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
It was just, I can't deny the guy.
And now, what about once you put this music out? Are there plans to actually go out, with this solo project and full blown tour?
I don't know. I mean, these days it's difficult. I mean,
it is hard
right now. Labels and promoters, they're taking the safe route. Luckily, I have that with M.O.D. We could play any festival in Europe, anytime, any summer, anytime. Right. I have that with them. This is a passion project. Now, of course, I send every track I release to the booking agent with M.O.D. I'm friends with them. I just want them to hear it. That's really up to other people, not me. You know what I mean? I'll do it if the demand is there, but if not, I'm perfectly fine still having M.O.D. as my outlet to go see the planet.
Yeah.
But for my own creative outlet, like I do get to express myself on the M.O.D. stuff, but it's still within the bounds of that. Like
It's interesting that you say you send the music to the booking agent, though. I'm curious because you've been doing this for so long, and especially when you're doing solo stuff like this. Is there somebody that when you track this stuff, or like you're in the stages of doing it, or when it's completed, or you've got some rough mixes of it? Do you have somebody in your life that you kind of send it over to, who whose feedback like you seek, like somebody that kind of gives you that stamp of approval, man, in your life, that you say, geez, I want to run this by you, and somebody that you know is also going to be brutally honest with you?
Well, I do rough mixes with my friends who aren't really like professional musicians. But if I'm going to show something to somebody, it's going to be mixed and done. So Gary Miskell from Propane, and who was in the Crumbsuckers, who was like this
amazing,
ridiculously amazing. I send him the stuff. I send another Crumbsucker, Chuck Lenahan, who I'm friends with, because he's a brilliant guitar player.
I'm trying to get Chuck on the show. I've been back and forth with him for a while now. He's a busy guy too, but.
Well, maybe after he does his solo on my next track, he'll do it. I'm sorry, did I just say that?
I'll get him. No. The reason I'll get him is because I had Joe Cangelosi on it. I think the two of them like do the Carnivore stuff now.
Yeah, Carnivore AD.
Yeah.
After that, so that's basically. I'm waiting for the call from Phil from Motorhead saying he wants to do Motorhead AD. I'll be like,
that would be that would be awesome. As a matter of fact, I love what Phil does with his sons right now, man. I'm going to have one of the sons on when they get back, like from their tour. But he's got Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, and they sound just like Motorhead. But the whole band is his boys.
Who sings?
The guy that sings is not a family member, but the other three, it's Phil, some guy that sings and does a pretty damn good job, and then his three sons.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Amazing, man. Yeah, I think they call themselves Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. They're fucking amazing, though. Yeah, and he's kind of carrying on that Motorhead tradition. It's very Motorhead-esque. I won't say that the lead singer, is doing an imitation of Lemmy. It varies a little bit, but the music is still that same, Motorhead feel to it. All right. So you do have guys who you'll send the stuff to and say, hey, give me some feedback here.
Well, not even feedback. I just say, here's a new song I'm really proud of. Check it out. And, and I'll just get I don't get a review. I get like, wow, this is awesome, Rob. Great song, and that's, they know I'm not going to like take their advice or change anything. So it's like, either you like it or you don't. Or, if, I'm not looking for, what happens is if you try to get input before you're done with it, it could get in your head.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to not do that. Like, I'm not even really demoing these songs, because usually I over demo things, and then I go in the studio and then I'm trying to make it sound like the demo. And it's like, no, I have the songs all written in my head, and it's working out much better this way. And then I'm just going in and executing. I mean, I'm basically averaging 3 hours to get drums, bass, all guitars, and vocals done.
Yeah.
3 hours. There's no bullshit, no arguing, no push and pull with people who don't know what the hell they're talking about, like.
So what's the creative process like for you in terms of, like, obviously I talked to a lot of musicians on here. I hear a lot of guys say they get ideas when they're driving their car or when they're at their day job, or you've got creative types who go into a room and say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, force myself to write or come up with ideas. What's the process like for you?
I never force it. And what happens is I have a little studio at home, and I have probably 200 ideas with drums and bass tracked. If I give an idea, I'll record it. Sometimes I'll just sit there with nothing and just come up with something on the spot. So I mix it up. Sometimes I'm influenced by other things, and that usually doesn't work. Like I heard Slayer, World Painted Blood. I wanted to go in and write something like that, and failed miserably at it, because I'm like, that's not me.
Right.
Just because I love it. I'm very easily influenced, but like I said, my influences I can't control. When I was 5 years old, it was Kiss. Now I'm not like Kiss Army guy. I'm not like fanatic Kiss, but they're planted in my brain now. Like the Kiss Alive was that album was epic. Kiss Alive 2, Destroyer, Love Gun. you know, those albums are in my brain. So those influences somehow come out. The Motorhead thing, obviously Metallica with the chunking and the speed
Yeah,
picking,
yeah,
you know, you can't help but be influenced by stuff when you're young, But where I'm going now, like I said, I have one mellow track, and the thing would really, I lost a really dear friend to me who I hadn't been writing for years. I've been helping my wife. She's a hip hop artist, but she uses real instruments. So she plays piano, but she's like, when she writes on the piano, I sit on the drum set. In our dining room, we have a piano and a drum set, not a dining room table. She'll play piano, I'll play drums. I'll add some keys or I'll add some strings or whatever, just being creative. So, but for the last 6 or 7 years, I really haven't had anything. Then I lost my close friend and mentor, Al DeSalvo, who taught me power chords when I was really young and changed my whole life, honestly. When he died, I wrote this piece of music for him. It was called One Day. And it was just an acoustic piece, kind of like Orchid by Sabbath or Planet Caravan by Sabbath. Then my wife's producer heard it, and he's a rap guy. And he goes, I love this song. Can I do a mix of it? I go ahead. It's a personal song. I sent it to his family. It's
yeah.
for me. And he sent me the mix with a hip hop beat behind this acoustic thing with my Johnny Cash delivery. And I go, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm releasing it. And it was the first thing that I did for this project. And that just sparked my creativity. From the grave, my mentor pushed me. And after I did that One Day song, which is, it's available on iTunes and everything, on Spotify, under Rob Moschetti. After that, I wrote Guardian Angel, which is completely heavy and blistering. And it's about a rock star who dies. And it's not like targeting any specific person, but imagine like a big shot on the planet dies. They go to heaven, they get to the gates, they meet their angel, and he's like, you know who I am? And the angel's like, I don't give a fuck who you are. You know what I mean? Like that means nothing up here.
Right, right.
So I mean, if you listen to the chorus, it's like, I'm your guardian angel, take my hand. I don't give a fuck about your bullshit band.
Right,
That's
right.
that's the hook.
Yeah. You're nobody up here.
Yeah, so that it inspired me to write that, and then I went to Prisoner to No One, which is it's a statement that I make to my wife because we're completely independent from label and managers and this and that. Creatively, we are prisoners to no one, and I
Which
always
is
say it.
amazing. Yeah. Which is
And it's
amazing.
I don't write fantasy. I write about reality, and I was just searching out ideas, and I'm like, man, that Prisoner to No One, that's such a great either a band name or a song name. I was like, I'm going to write about this, Prisoner to No One. And if the whole thing is a breakdown of my childhood, my dad dying in 84. So like opening line, been on a mission since 1984.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's my life from 84 on, which was, this melee of being totally driven, obsessed, probably annoying at times to people. But like when you're so driven, you do not care about weddings, graduations, friends, jobs, girls. That'll all come if you get to, everybody talks about, oh, the best part was the journey, the journey, the journey. You're right. It is. The best
Yeah.
part is the journey, only if you get somewhere.
Right,
Because
right.
the guys who never got anywhere, they hate the journey. They're like, I wasted my whole life for nothing.
Right. Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? You look at the journey as wasted time, essentially. Yeah.
Exactly. My journey's been fucking awesome. I didn't become Metallica or Slayer, but if I died tomorrow, I lived my dream. I got to see the planet, play shows, make records, meet people, party, drink, fuck, whatever. Just
Well, your resume is fucking amazing, though. I mean, Propane. You spent time in Generation Kill, another fucking great band.
Yeah, but I don't really acknowledge my time there. It was a waste of time, to be honest. It was just, amateur hour. I was trying to get that to be, to the Propane level and to the M.O.D. level. And it was just like,
If I'm not mistaken, that was Rob Dukes, right?
yeah.
That was Rob Dukes' band, correct?
Well, me and him started it, you know,
Right,
and
right, okay.
it was an uphill battle. We did get signed to, you know, I got us a little deal with Season of Mist Records, which we were perfectly fine with, you know, because we weren't really trying to, you know, get to that crazy level. I just wanted to make a few good records. And then Nuclear Blast came, and that was like sink or swim. And it sunk because it was like, it wasn't good enough, you know,
Yeah.
like one or two guys can't carry a 5-piece band. You know what I mean? Like it's just not the reason MOD was successful is because everybody was important, you know, and Scott and even SOD, you know, Scotty, Ian, Charlie, Billy, Danny,
Right, right. Everybody's rowing in the same direction. Yeah, it
yeah,
helps.
like there's a reason why people become successful and a reason people don't. And that was just, you know, and even though I wrote 90% of the material, it was just with the wrong people, you know, and I honestly don't wish any ill will. I just don't even acknowledge it because it was like I'm known for MOD and propane, and that's good enough for me. Yeah,
I love the fact that you said that. I picked up on that you write lyrics, you know, that are based in reality and about stuff that you know of. Do you look at music and the fact that you are an artistic person? Do you look at music and writing as cathartic at all? Do you find it therapeutic? Yeah.
absolutely. Like, you know, there was, I don't even want to say which band it was, but you're a smart guy. We were going to record our third record, and all music was written. And I'm like, we need lyrics, you know? And it was, well, I got to watch some movies and read some books. And I'm like, don't you have anything original to say? Or you have to,
Yeah.
like, you know, like come up with something like
Right.
an original thought. Like, you got to read a book or watch a movie.
It's like life is giving us material all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't write fairies and dragons stuff. I write, you
Right.
know, about life. And, you know, that's probably why musicians are more held accountable for their art than actors. Like Tom Cruise can play a Nazi, but if Jeff Hanneman writes about the Nazis, he's a Nazi.
Right. It's a right. It's a very right. It's a very double standard. It
It's,
almost sounds like your approach and having it based in reality, and about the things that are actually real and going on, man. It's almost more of like it almost reminds me more of the approach that like hardcore bands take.
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Bands who write fantasy aren't accountable for their lyrics.
Right.
It's fantasy. Oh, that's not me. That's just a character. Scott Ian used to love saying that. Oh, Sergeant D he's not, we're not racist. I'm Jewish.
Right.
Sergeant D is just a character. It's like,
Right.
yo, Billy was Sergeant D. You know,
Yeah.
like you guys went to CBGB's. He saved your life from getting trounced by a bunch of skinheads, and you made him your front man. So they basically went to the dog kennel, adopted a pit bull, and wondered why he bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's real. He's the real deal. You know.
Yeah.
This isn't fantasy for him. This is real life. You know. So anything I write, I stand behind it 100%. So if I say anything, which I never will, racist or this or that, I would have to stand behind it. That's why I don't write about shit like that, because I want to be accountable for every word I write.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
I don't want to hide behind, oh, that was just about some movie or that was about some book. That wasn't me. I don't think that. Well, I'm not saying that any other way is wrong. This is just how I operate. And maybe that's why I don't pump out tons and tons of material, because you know, the last material I wrote was when my brothers passed away. I lost 2 brothers in 3 months back in 2015. I wrote a whole album of material that I didn't release, just cathartic, therapeutic. Now, between then and now, haven't been writing shit. I just hadn't been inspired. My friend Al dies, and I'm somehow, that's how I get creative, out of tragedy or a reality, or it's kind of sad in a way, but that's how I heal, you know?
Sure. That
So
makes a lot of sense.
maybe my life was too good between 2015 and now, where I really had nothing relevant to write about.
Right.
I wrote an entire record dedicated to my brothers, you know? So after that, nothing really seemed to matter. Like, what am I going to write about now? You know, like, but when my friend Al died, it just broke me in two, you know, it fucking tore my heart out. And the way I heal is write and play. And I showed his family and they loved it. And I wasn't planning on releasing it, but I feel share it with the world now. You know, it's his song. It's theirs. It's not even mine anymore, you know?
I noticed one trend. I do notice one trend that started around COVID, though, and I realized people couldn't get out and tour and play live. They had to get the creativity out somehow. But we started to see a lot of bands releasing singles and taking the EP route. For you doing the solo stuff, what do you feel for you is the best release format? Do you like the EP route? Do you feel like you got to tell your story in a full length? Like, what's the best route to go?
This is me and my wife's plan with both our records. She's 7 songs in. I'm 3 songs in. Well, actually 4 now, but it's not released yet. What we do is you write a song, you craft it, you make it the best you can, you record it, you release it.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to 10, there's your album.
Yeah.
And that's how we're doing it. Not an EP. We're releasing 1 song at a time. Right now, I got 3 songs released under ROB MOSCHETTI, under Did Me Dirty Records. And tonight, a song is being mixed, and I want to release it next week, you know?
Yeah.
And as that's being released, I'm going to be in the studio recording 2 more. And then I'll release them, you know? And it's a whole different world now, you know? It's easier to get, but it sort of takes away from when I came up. Mutilation and Molester had cassette demos. And
yes, the good old days.
We sold them at shows and at mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
And then when Mutilation got signed, the label gave us CDs. We would play shows. No one would know who the hell we were. Want to buy a CD? They turn their back on you and walk away. Then we would play.
Yeah.
And the same people, because I don't forget a face, they'd all charge the merch booth with smiles. Oh my God, you guys are awesome. I want a CD. I want a shirt. Yeah. And to me, that was more gratifying. I wasn't pissed that they didn't buy it. They wanted to be sold. They wanted to be like, make me want to buy this fucking CD. So when we went out with Mutilation, it was so gratifying. Like, all these other bands were dragging their friends to shows. I'm like, how are you going to know if you're any good? Your friends ain't going to tell you suck.
Right.
Strangers will either tell you suck or just leave. Or they'll buy your shit if they like you. And that was amazing. We started traveling a little bit. We bought a little bus. That was awesome. That journey was awesome, you know, because it got me somewhere else, you know. I'll never forget those days, you know.
Now you're a guy with a lot of opinions, man. I'm curious to, I'm curious, because we are talking so in depth and so candidly here. Obviously, we could see streaming, was coming down the pike. You know what I mean? The physical product was starting to give way to all these streaming platforms. Is there a way, in your opinion, that the industry could have somehow harnessed streaming and somehow made it where it could have been more profitable for the artist? It seems like the artists are really getting fucked right now. You know what? You're talking to an artist who was around during the analog era, the digital era. I've never been paid for an album in my entire career. So I don't give a shit that the labels all went belly up, because they were the only ones making money. Right. And I've heard that same sentiment many times. It doesn't mean shit to me. Like, we always made our money live, so I'm glad they're all fucked, because they didn't do shit. This is the deal. Okay. The Nuclear Blast deal I did with, the band you mentioned earlier. They gave us 10 grand. The record, the first week, sold a few thousand copies. So even if it sold 3,000 or 4,000 copies, times 10, $40,000. Okay. Right. In their eyes, we didn't pay them back because we only made $1 a record. Right. We have to pay them back that 10 grand out of our dollar, not out of the other 9. Right. So it's like being signed to the mob. But at least with the mafia, you're eventually paid back. Yeah, or you're killed. So
So that's how it works. It's like you're in debt to them at that rate,
Yeah.
even when you recoup. And then if you're lucky enough, if you're successful enough, you'll start making some royalty rates.
Right.
If you use their money for buses and planes and recording budgets and music video budgets, so I couldn't care less about the labels going on there because Roadrunner Records went from having 100 bands to having 2.
Yeah.
Nickelback and Slipknot.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up videos, though, man, because you have made some videos for these songs, man. Obviously, the MTV that we know and Headbangers Ball and all that stuff from years ago is now gone. MTV is a shell of what it used to be. But you like the video making process? It does still seem like it's quite an effective promotional and marketing tool, man. People are still watching videos. I mean, granted, on smaller screens, but you do see well-made videos still getting lots and lots of views on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I shot the last M.O.D. video, the last 2, and it was basically me with my iPhone on tour.
Yeah.
So, like, I want people to live the tour experience, and we did like 18 countries in like 30 days. So it was like flashcards. Everything I videotaped, and I put it all together. I wanted the world to see, what it's like. And I loved it. I mean, and I love directing, not even directing. I love shooting and editing videos. I directed my wife in her video. We went to the San Gennaro feast, tons of people there, and we just hung out and got drunk with our friends. And I'd say, "Kat, turn around." She'd look at me and I go, "Say the line this." The music wasn't even playing. She would just recite a line. I'd videotape it, boom, piece by piece, then come home creatively, just putting it all together. I love anything creative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
so
stimulating.
video work to me is cool. If you're expressing yourself, like what I'm doing with my videos, these first 2 that I've done, it's obvious now. The whoever sees them says, "Okay, this guy's doing everything himself. It's a solo project. Drums, doing guitar, doing bass, doing vocals." Now I have to change gears because the first 2 videos was performance. Now it's going to get into like, expensive if I want to even do it, so because I don't want to be redundant with video. So I'll do more if the opportunity is right, or if I can have a different way of creatively doing it without boring people. These videos are really based on performance and
Right.
Just I'm trying to capture lightning in a bottle, and if people see the video first, then maybe they'll go to Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, because they're not going to want to go to YouTube every time they want to hear the song. They want it in their library. So that's what the video does. Like, the video is an attention getter.
I agree with you. I think if there's enough exuberance and energy, it almost leaps right off the screen, and it makes you say, "I got to go seek out this album. I got to go seek out this guy."
And that's how I got to you.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So I got a couple subjective questions for you. For you, your Mount Rushmore of all-time musical artists.
Wow.
Your top 4 goats of all time. Not who you think the greatest bands are. Your 4 greatest to you.
Sabbath, Metallica. It's so tough. You said 4 or 5?
4.
Oh man, that is so hard.
I don't need a geography lesson in the comment section. When I was doing the boxing podcast with my son, we didn't even know where the hell Mount Rushmore was, and somebody thankfully pointed this out to us. But I do know there's 4 faces on there. God damn it!
I mean, okay. For heavy music, I would say, Slayer, Megadeth.
Yeah.
Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, Sabbath.
Yeah.
I did love Maiden. I did love Maiden.
I don't think anybody's going to argue with that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I mean, the Maiden thing was cool, but it was just so unobtainable for me because they were like, they were like too grand. Sabbath was always a kind of like, gritty roots kind of,
It almost felt like something that you could do or replicate.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would say, and the early Megadeth, like again, first 4 albums,
And then what if I'm dropping Rob Moschetti on a desert island and he can only take 1 album? What's the desert island album if you can only bring 1?
Oof. How Will I Laugh? Suicidal.
Oh, I love that
Even
pick.
though they weren't in my top 4, they're number 5.
I love that pick. I love that pick. Now, what can you tell us, man, like about the actual album? I don't let you divulge anything, too prematurely, man. But when all 10 songs are done, man, do you have a title for the album?
Prisoner to No One.
Prisoner to No One is going to be the actual title of the album. Okay.
Yeah. And there'll be physicals, We'll do limited edition physical copies like CDs,
Yep.
maybe some vinyl. But yeah, the title's too appropriate to not use. It's my life. I do not want to be prisoner to anybody, and I still kind of am. Like, and it's not really prisoner, but if I had my own full-blown studio right now, I have a little home studio, but nothing that I could release. One Day, the song One Day was recorded on my home studio because it's only like 8 tracks. But if I was truly a prisoner to no one, I would play guitar. I'd play lead guitar,
Right.
and I would have my own studio. So.
And so going out and playing these songs live, if you were to do concerts or whatever, man, what would that entail? That would entail obviously putting a band together, correct?
Yeah, it would absolutely be a 4-piece. I would
Okay.
play guitar. I would play guitar and sing. Believe it or not, bass is more demanding to sing and play.
Interesting.
Yeah, because with a second guitarist, you can kind of strum and let it ring out.
Yeah.
Bass is, I did it in a thrash band, so you miss a note, the whole club hears it.
Well, you did mention earlier, about the difference with like working with friends as opposed to working with. Now, obviously, you don't divulge like names specifically, but would you have a band in mind that you could put together? Like, if you had to go out, let's say, like, and do shows next week, I mean, is that decided in your head already, or is it about approaching people?
I haven't gotten that far, but if I would, it would either be Nick St. Dennis, who played the solo on Guardian Angel, or Bobby Gustafson, who played on Prisoner No One as the other guitar player.
Yeah.
Drummer, if it's not a financial thing, I would kill to have, like, there was a drummer that I used, a drummer that we used in Propane, who I'm still friends with, Mike Hansel, blistering drummer. Or Tony Scaglione, who played with M.O.D. but didn't do a record, but he filled in for Slayer during Rain and Blood. So, like, when I got to jam with him, it was like, oh my God, I've never played with a drummer like this in my life.
Well, you're not doing too bad if you're up on stage and you look over and you got Bobby Gustafson up there with you. That's a good fucking start.
Yeah. And bass players, there's a few, as long as they could. I know a bunch who could play the parts. You know what I mean? I don't want to, I don't want to paint myself in a corner, but there's a few. I mean, my old friend Tony LeClaire, he was more in like rock bands and stuff like that, but he's like a very, very good bass player, and he's been hitting me up to if I ever go out live, and he's the kind of guy where it'd be like, I wouldn't even have to see him. I would just send him the record and he would learn it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves, But the last band I was in, I did the bass, and it was probably unfair to the bass player who came in, because not better or worse, he just wasn't me,
Right.
So when I'm hearing it, I'm instantly compromising. Like, I'm Puerto Rican and Italian, so I have like soul in my playing.
Yeah.
He was just very, I hate to say it, very white. There was no groove at all to it, and
that's not. I don't think for a bass player that's not a great trait.
I mean, but it was fine, but it wasn't what it should be.
And so, for people who are looking to, to find this stuff out or to stay tapped in with what you're doing, like, where's the best place? Obviously, go to the streaming platforms, but do you have a website?
No, YouTube. Just type in my name, on YouTube. The videos will come up on iTunes, Apple Music. Again, Rob Moschetti. Type that in, and the songs will just pop up. That's
what
the
about
best way.
And what about the wife? Give your wife a shout out. Where do they find her work if they're looking for it?
Her project is called Destroy Myself
Okay.
canceled with
Okay.
2 L's and canceled. So just remember D, M, and C. Destroy Myself, cancel. And that's more like she obviously, it's a female voice, but she has like a Wu-Tang vibe and
I love it.
an old school vibe. She's like, I'm 55, but she's 10 years younger than me, but she's, way beyond her years as far as like, that kind of music. And I'm glad, like when we were kind of working on music, I thought maybe I could write her like a punk record or something like that. She'd be a great punk frontman, like Plasmatics vibe. But
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
she had her own path. And I was proud of her for choosing that, not just saying, I want to do what you do. Because she had her own plan, and I just kind of guided her very slightly at the beginning. And she just won an award yesterday for the first song she wrote in hip hop, for an independent best song in an independent film in Eastern Europe, which is amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you did say she has a record label. Is there a lot of artists on the label?
Just me and her.
That's awesome. That's the way. Yeah.
Anyone who's interested in and it's basically digital. It's all digital. So if there's people out there who have a great product that don't know how about getting it released to all the digital platforms, that's what we do.
Yeah. And so what's the name of the label again for people that might be interested?
Did Me Dirty Records. But
fucking what a great name.
If you go to either of our social medias, you can send material to me personally through Messenger.
Awesome.
And if it's hip hop or hardcore or metal or rock, send it to me. And if you guys are willing to cut some kind of deal where we get it released, and
well, I'm glad you got a lot of stuff cooking for you, man. I'm telling you, man, I'm really digging the solo stuff, man. I wish you a lot of luck with it, man. And I really enjoy talking to you for sure. Now that we're linked on social media, for sure, stay in touch, man. As things keep happening, I'd love to have you back on, man. It's been a real blast talking to you, man.
Definitely. And anyone anyone listening, any artists listening, just stay true to yourself. Don't try to be someone else. Just, you have an idea, stick to it. You never know what people are going to like. You can't please everybody. Please yourself.
That's right. Well said, Rob. That's good advice right there for aspiring music artists out there, man. And I appreciate you taking the time, man. You were driving, you pulled over, man. I really appreciate it, man. For sure, stay in touch, man. We will definitely do this again, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Good talking to you, Rob.
Later, bro.
All right, later, brother.
Peace.
There he goes, folks. Rob Moschetti. You might remember him from M.O.D. You fucking should. Propane, Generation Kill. And now he's on his own doing his own thing, man, on the solo trip right now, just under the name Rob Moschetti. Go check out. He's got some amazing singles out there. I was just bumping Prisoner to No One, which it sounds like that is going to be what the full-length album is going to be, man. Think heavy, crunchy, in that vein of, as he said, searching for that, Motorhead, heavy metal, just nice, thick, chunky riffs, man. Fucking the metal that I fucking love and that you fucking love too. You might not even know that you fucking love it or need it in your life, but I'm telling you, you do. So go check out whatever Rob Moschetti is doing. That's not the machete that you're fucking gonna hack your fucking your neighbor up with when he's getting on your nerves. Not that machete, man. Although that machete has a purpose too. This is Moschetti. Go check him out on the streaming platforms, man. And obviously go check out his wife too, doing a hip-hop project, man. And Did Me Dirty Records, man. Go check out, obviously Rob said they welcome submissions for people that want to put stuff out, man. They certainly seem receptive to helping out young artists, man. And that's the way it fucking should be in the music world, man. Because as we know from talking to artists on here all the time, it is dog eat dog out there, man. More than ever. I mean, it always has been, man. But now it is a tough slog out there, man, in the music business, man. Artists are not always faring too well out there, man. It's tough. So I will add my little spiel here that I usually do every couple episodes. Get out there and support your favorite musicians. Go to their websites, stay tapped into what they're doing, buy their merch. If they're coming around, go check out a fucking live show, man. Lift them up, support them. They're giving us a piece of themselves and a piece of their art, man. We got to lift them up and we got to support them. If we love what they do, man, we got to go out there and be there for them. This is their grind. This is what they do for a living. And you also heard Rob with a great piece of advice at the end, man. Stay true to yourself. Do you out there, man. And good things will happen if you do that and you're true to your sound and you're true to your beliefs and you're writing stuff, as Rob said, from the heart, grounded in reality, man. Good things will fucking happen for you. And definitely go check out ROB MOSCHETTI, man. A member of one of my all-time favorite bands, the great M.O.D., Method of Destruction, working alongside the great frontman, Billy Milano. And he's also was in the amazing band Propane. So he's been involved in some pretty cool projects, man. And the solo shit he's doing now, trust me, man, you will like and you need it in your fucking life right now. So go to the streaming platforms, go check out ROB MOSCHETTI, man. And the solo album will be coming soon. Singles are coming out right now as we speak. As you said, he just finished one up that should be coming out next week. He's already got a few out there right now, man. So do yourself a favor, go check him out, and then you come back and say, as usual, Rexx, thank you for hipping me to the music of ROB MOSCHETTI, which you will fucking say. So that being said, like I always say, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped into the best conversations anywhere on the fucking planet. This is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. Now that the interview's over, let me give myself a look. God damn it, still looking fucking amazing. But come on, I've got the Roth genes, and you don't. So I don't know what else to tell you, man. You can't get these good rock star good looks. Well, you could probably get pretty damn close. I don't know if I did this at the beginning of the episode. My brain is so fried from years of good wacky weed. But I will say once again, man, get yourself some of this right here. This is how you might get close to getting the Roth quaff. And like I always say, you won't look this good because that's fucking impossible, but you can probably look pretty damn good. Aspire to be a rock star, be true to yourself, man. And like Rob said, good things will fucking happen. That being said, let me remind you, as I always do at the end of these things, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.